Have you always been a floral artist? Is that something you've always done?
It's something I've always loved. It's in my blood. So my uncle had a greengrocer / florist.
Oh, wow.
So my mum used to be a florist. That's the other reason I love flowers, because we lived in Holland when I was a little girl and used to go to Kokenhof, and it was just the fields of tulips are just something else.
Hello, my name's Nicole and this is The Big Chat. And today I'm very excited to introduce you to my good friend Lucie from the Bloom Foundry. She is a floral artist, shall we say. Hello, Lucie.
Hello, Nicole.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for coming to talk to us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Tell people who don't know about you. Obviously, I know all about you. I've had some beautiful flowers hand-delivered last week, which was very special. Was it last week or the week before?
I'm not sure, it was snowing.
Maybe
the week before.
Maybe the week before. You did get a bit cold standing on the doorstep talking to me. That was very nice of you. But tell those of people that are listening that maybe don't know about the Bloom Foundry. Tell us a bit about that, please.
Okay, well, it's a florist mainly, but I also sell quite a lot of antiques.
Yeah.
So I try and always match the two together. So I sell a lot of dried and very good faux flowers. So they work really well in lots of things that you might not normally have been able to put fresh flowers in. Yeah. So like I've got at the moment some really old Indonesian vases that can't have water in them and can't go outside, but look incredible with huge bouquets of dried foliage in all colours in them. So yes, that's what I do.
So your shop, how long have you had your shop for now, Lucie? It must be coming up to...
It's been over 2 years, but it took us a while to open because there was quite a lot of work that needed doing, and I wanted it to look a certain way inside. So it's actually... this April will be 2 years.
Wow. And so you've had quite a year, the last year.
Yes, it's been interesting, should we say. Yeah.
And have you always been, and we will get to that, have you always been, has that always been something that you do? Tell us a bit about, have you always been a floral artist? Is that something you've always done? Where's this come from, this passion?
It's something I've always loved. It's in my blood. So my uncle had a greengrocer / florist.
Oh, wow.
So my mum used to be a florist, and then I always wanted to do it, but then somehow when I left school I ended up doing event management and just sort of drifted into a job, as you do, and then ended up doing that for about 4 or 5 years. And then I thought, no, this is fun, but it's not what I wanted to do. So I went back to college and did an H&D in floristry for a couple of years, and then ended up having children. So then I started antiques dealing instead, because that kind of worked well with the children being at home, and again is something that I love. And I've been told I have quite a good eye for finding things and knowing what looks good together. But I always kept doing the floristry sort of on the side, but mainly for friends and things, but it's always been what I've wanted. And then when the shop that I've got became empty, I just had, I've always known what it could be, and I just had such a flash. It's like it was just an absolute vision of what I could have there, almost to shut your eyes and can see it in front of you.
So you really visualised it.
Yeah, so that's now where I am. So that's how I ended up with a shop.
And you're in St.John's Yard. We're having a bit of a St. John's Yard moment today, actually. We've talked to a few people from St. John's Yard and that area today, but you're in St. John's Yard, that area,
that kind
St.
of
John's,
area, St. John's.
opposite
so really,
St. John's Yard, aren't you? So.
Yes, and it's really coming up now. I mean, we've got a lovely cheese shop across the road that's just opened, or a lovely health food shop. My friend Alex owns Manuel's Bakery, which is lovely, and she's busy diversifying at the moment to have lots more local produce and things. And then the corner shop that's like a little stalwart of the community. And then obviously we've got the Shuffle House and Even Flow and St. John's Yard. So it's really is a really lovely area that's really coming up now.
It is, because it always, I'm Tunbridge Wells through and through, and it was always like an area that you sort of passed through. We had the grammar schools, you've got lots of schools there, and then there wasn't so much, but now there's just, like you say, it's a real community, isn't there? There's lots of shops, lots of people working up there, lots of things to do, so it is a real community.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, like some of them have sort of said, it's been since even the guys that own Phoenix Antiques, you've been there for years and years and years. And even they said, well, since you opened, it's like it's kind of made it better. And
that's
even
nice.
like Tony from the paint shop across the road, he came over because he'd not painted his shops for years.
Yeah.
And I've always bought paint off him, and I'd be like, you're not going to paint this shop, come on, it's a mess. And then eventually, like last year, and then he came in to get some flowers for his wife, and he was like, I hope you appreciate the fact, I'm painting the shop.
So you're encouraging the
finally,
locals
yes,
to get creative as well. I love that.
Exactly, and just make it all nice and tidy. Like, so it's not
And I remember when you were opening your shop, because you obviously did some flowers, which was amazing for the soapbox. I think, was it year 2 you did our flowers, didn't you, around the VIP?
Yes, it was, yes, because I'd not long been open then.
Yeah.
So I did you loads of like big tissue paper
It's
flowers
amazing.
and everything.
Yeah.
So it was really bright and
It's gorgeous.
gorgeous. Yeah.
And have you done lots of events and things like that before? Is that something that you've done? Or
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, really the shop was always kind of meant to be secondary.
Yeah.
And that's where I was getting it to. So I was doing sort of events in London through my friends' events companies, and had weddings booked in and all these things happening that obviously then, due to COVID, now I've had to find other things to do because those things aren't happening, and who knows when they'll happen again. So I've just been doing lots around
Lots of
finding
other
other things.
so because I mean, obviously for people that are listening, we talk to lots of businesses and entrepreneurs, and Tunbridge Wells is full of them. It's literally full of them, and it's lots of people that have really gone out there and thought, right, I want to have something. And like you say, you really visualise this shot. I remember choosing the colour for your shot. You were very specific about the colour.
That took me ages.
Yeah, which is fantastic because it's something that you really, really wanted. So you were very passionate about what you wanted, and you were very directed. And then you opened the shop up, and then, like you say, it's literally a year in, and then you've got to shut. How was that for you last year? As we're over a year now, aren't we? Really, since we're coming up to a year next month. So how was that for you?
I mean, to begin with, honestly, I didn't know what I was going to do at all, and having three children, and just suddenly having them at home all the time when I'm used to them being at school, like we all are, was quite a shock. So it did take me a while to get myself back again, really. And I'd say most of the time now I'm there, and also because I've found lots of other things now I can do, so it doesn't actually matter that there aren't product launches and there aren't weddings, because hopefully I've found enough niches that mean I'm going to be successful in those and don't have to rely on doing 2 or 3 big events a month. Yeah.
And is that something you had to pretty much do straight away? Because I know obviously lockdown 2, because we opened again, didn't we? Did you find that when you opened again that you were busy and people were coming in? And I mean, because you still had people come into the shop, right? They just couldn't come into the shop.
Yeah. So I mean, between the 2 lockdowns, I was doing click and collect, and then once the children went back to school in September, I opened the shop again, and it was going really well. Everyone was very happy that I was open, because obviously so many people have been walking past on their daily walks, and they're like, oh, what a pretty shop. Why can't I go into that shop? And I always make sure I change the windows all the time to give people something else to look at and hopefully cheer people up a bit, because it's all a bit grim. So I always try and make sure there's something in the window, like for the kids to look at or find, or I mean, over Christmas I found this old children's farm.
I saw that, yeah.
So it's very old. It's French, handmade, beautiful. So all the little doors open, and everything. And then I found I actually got them from Italy, like a proper little nativity set, so it all fitted. And then the Virgin Mary actually rocks when I plug her in, so I lit it all up and put that in the window. And so many people, so I'd be in the shop sort of doing Friday flowers, so the shop would be closed and I could just hear everybody stopping, going like, oh look kids, oh look at that, isn't that so lovely? And so that just made me feel nice, because I think, well, I'm helping giving so many people something to look at.
Absolutely. So, and is that your real driving force with that? Do you love that when people come and see what you're doing? And I can see you're getting a bit emotional,
which is emotional.
No, and that's lovely.
Just,
so you really
I like making people happy, and I just like making people happy, really. So, and cheering up their day, and whether that's from someone else sending them flowers that I make sure always look absolutely beautiful, or whether it's from just giving them something nice to look at to cheer them up for 5 minutes. That's
So is this something that's come when you were little? Is this when you talk about the little sort of the little doors and the way you describe it is wonderful. Is that something when you were little, were you always interested?
Oh,
that
yeah.
sort of
Yeah,
did
I
it?
was like a total like fairy gardens all over the
Were
garden.
you?
Yeah, I was really bad. That's why I have a fully grown fairy in my shop most of the time.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'd have a fully grown
that's why she
fairy in my
gets-
front door if I could. I mean, that's I'm here. Look, I think we're all fully grown
That's
children.
where I get. That's why I always. So I'm like my old. She's a vintage mannequin that I dress up like a flower fairy. That changes. So at the moment, yeah, she's turning into Alice soon because my Easter Mother's Day theme is kind of Alice in Wonderland. So
brilliant.
I've got to get some tulle to construct her some sort of blue and white dress, probably with wings, because why else? Like,
So do you? So is that something that you sort of think about in advance, and you think, and the windows, and then does that inspire inside the shop? How does that sort of?
Yeah, the windows I try and change all the time. I mean, I've sort of, if it does all go pear-shaped, I think I'll probably have a job as a window dresser if I wanted it, but I try and always make it that there's a bit of a story or some message or just, as I say, just something really nice to look at. But I do really plan it. So sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's, I need to change the windows. What can I put in the window? And then it just sort of happens organically.
Yeah.
But for big things, there's always a plan.
And I remember obviously at Christmas, because one of the things that you're very popular for is your wreath making. I mean, I think one of our team has done. I think Suzanne maybe's had.
Yeah, she did.
She's done the wreath
she
making.
made one
She
last
loved it.
Christmas.
Yeah. So, and I know that it was something that we talked about sort of collectively as a team, and obviously that was something people could come in and do. And then you were very smart because you switched it up, didn't you? And you sort of, tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the year before last, I had 365 people in December that came into the shop and made Christmas wreaths.
Not all at once.
Not all at
Not
once.
all on the
but
same day.
It was double. There was double days.
Yeah.
One day I even had 3 sessions.
Those were the days when we didn't have to social distance. 365 in one day. Wow, that would be something, wouldn't it?
I know. So, yeah, because I've got a really large basement, so I tend to use down there to do workshops, or I did.
Yeah.
And then I was obviously hoping, because the indications back in September seemed to be we probably would be able to do that at Christmas. So I'd already pre-sold quite a lot of tickets on that basis, but I had to put in a bit of a caveat that if I can't have them in the shop, I'm really sorry, but we'll do them on Zoom.
Of course.
And then because of that, that one went on. So I had quite a few businesses contact me. So I ended up doing quite a few corporate workshops for all different types of businesses. So not just your typical, generally, female-based business, perhaps like you were saying with your team.
Yeah.
But all of them. I mean, I had a kind of a recruitment company that's mainly based in Essex, and there was only one girl out of 18 lads.
Brilliant.
It's all
we all want a Christmas wreath. We all want one on the door.
And they
Come
had
on.
so much fun. They were making them for their mums.
Yeah.
One of them hadn't told his girlfriend what he was doing,
it's
so she was
lovely.
made up when she got home. So they had a really, really, really good time and said like how nice it was to do something that's totally different to what they would usually do, either going out for dinner and just drinking or generally all they've been doing at the moment, which is Zoom quizzes. So that's now something that I offer, and I've got a booking next month for, I think it's for 75.
It's amazing.
So that's where I'm really moving.
And is that something, do you think you'll do that when, I mean, if we get an announcement soon where we're told that we can go back to some sort of normal, do you think you'll still continue to do these sort of online offerings, Lucie, or is it something you'll sort of do alongside? Do you miss that interaction? I'm sure. But as far as a business model.
Yeah, I think it's something I'm definitely going to continue offering.
Yeah.
So I've got plans to sort of have a YouTube channel and everything, and just make it all, in lots of ways it's about the shop, but then also it's more about me.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
it's me giving my knowledge
Yeah.
and helping, as I say, it's about helping people feel a bit happier and giving them something different to do. And I think when you start playing with flowers and when you do that sort of thing, it's something that, if it's something that's not too complicated, what you're doing, it's very satisfying because you start with like a big pile of, I don't know, foliage and flowers, and you end up with something that looks really beautiful. And if you've got a good tutor showing you what to do, then it's not difficult. So it's not something you struggle over or get stressed about. So how things are at the moment, it's really important, I think, that all our minds have that kind of release.
It's therapeutic, isn't it, in a sense?
And lots of people don't get a chance to do that in their normal lives. You know, I mean, I don't have a garden at home. You know, the boys and I are in a flat at the moment, and they miss that. They miss that like earth connection. So,
absolutely.
you know, I think it's something that's really good for people to do. And it's not just wreath classes I can do. There's various other workshops that I'm working on at the moment.
Brilliant.
That, like I say, are sort of based on the same thing, that they're simple but satisfying to do, but also something that would also be difficult to do if the kit wasn't presented in front of you. So,
and the antiques, I'm interested about the antiques. I mean, the antiques sound so much fun. Is that something that you sort of, I mean, when you say it's sort of from France or Indonesia, or how do you find these treasures? This sounds like, you know, a bit of a treasure hunt.
I've got some very good contacts.
I have the contacts. It's all about my contacts.
Yeah,
but is that how it's been? It's like, so you a bit, because that just sounds like a lot of fun. I had a friend that was into antiques. He had an antiques business for a long time, still dabbles a bit in it. But is that something that's it? Once you're in with the people, then it's that kind of.
Yeah, and it takes a while.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It is an industry that's quite, you know, hard to break into.
I would imagine so.
Especially with all the TV shows and everything. Everyone's like, oh, I'm an antiques dealer, and you know, but so you have to show that you've got some knowledge, or especially having an actual shop makes a difference.
Does it?
Yeah, because then they know you're respectable and you're not just saying that you're an antiques dealer, but really you're actually keeping it all at home, you know, which does happen sometimes. I do hoard things sometimes. I'm like, oh, that's
well, you could just have your house, just lots of antiques in your house, and say you're an antique dealer, and that sounds rather nice. Hoard it all. I quite like that idea. I might talk to you later.
I can help you hoard some things. Beautiful things.
But was that one of the reasons you chose the shop as well? Because you mentioned the other two antiques dealers that are down there who have been there a long. I remember they've been there a long time. Was that because that area was renowned for that? Was that because you're very modern as well? So you've brought that bit of flavour of modern with that antiquey feel to it, with obviously the flowers as well. It's beautiful.
Well, yeah, and it tends to be, I don't sell big things, really. I've learned I refuse to sell anything I can't lift by myself.
Brilliant.
Because I'm quite determined as well, and I don't like having to wait for somebody else to come along.
Yeah.
And there has been occasions where there's been the odd thing I can't lift. So I have to be able to lift it by myself, and I have to like it myself. And then often I have people in my head, and I think, right, if I bought that, would they buy it? Not necessarily thinking I'm going to sell it to them. But knowing that there's similar, you know. So I generally buy things thinking I know the type of customer that I'll hopefully sell it to once I've maybe had it for a bit.
That's great. And do you get a lot of people that sort of say to you, oh, I've got this area in my house, could you come and have a look at this? And
I do.
Do you?
Yes. Yeah, I get that quite a lot, especially now where people can't necessarily come into the shop. But I used to get it a lot when the shop's open. You know, really lovely customers coming in and saying, right, I've got this area, there's my table, or I've got that niche, you know, what can we put in there that I won't have to fuss with, and it can just stay there, because obviously the fresh flowers are beautiful, but sometimes, especially if you've got a whole lounge set up or dining room set up, and it's a room that's not used lots, but that you always want to know when you walk in there it's ready to go, that's where the faux flowers and the dried flowers work so well.
Faux flowers are they're just like rocking it now, aren't they? I mean, but you know, it's show my age again, but back in the day, faux flowers they kind of peaked and they sort of dropped again. Now they've peaked because, I mean, the faux flowers that you use are stunning. I mean, just beautiful. How's that sort of come back about? It's really sort of come back on the scene in quite a big way, hasn't it, over the last 5-6 years?
I think it's Instagram. And then I've tried really hard. So all the flowers I've got the best of that one. Yeah. So say the rose that I've got, the white rose. Yeah. That's the best white rose I could find. Yeah. And the same with the eucalyptus and peonies and hydrangeas. So they might be from so I use lots of different suppliers. Yeah. Because it might be from one supplier, their eucalyptus is amazing, but their hydrangeas look really fake. So you're really selective about the individual flowers rather than the person that's selling them. Yeah, and the website now is are all the faux flowers individually.
Brilliant.
But I haven't yet got around to doing what my next stage is, which is having set designs, so that, because it's hard to visualize. So it's easy if someone comes into the shop and they're like, oh, I'd quite like a white arrangement to go on my dining table.
Yeah.
I can pick up, we can put something together.
Yeah.
But if they're looking online just by themselves and all they can see is like that stem and that stem and that stem, it's really hard to tell how things will work together. So that's
and it's really hard to put them together, because I have sort of great creations in my head, and then I put them together and they look awful, and I'm just, how has that happened? How has that been
spacing?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm probably not very good with spacing, but I just get a bit impatient. I'm like, oh, whatever, I'm not doing that then, and give up.
Yeah, and they're hard to cut and things. So I've also tried to find, I've got certain vases that are like my sort of signature vases, to call it something fancy. But it's because I know that'll work with that kind of design. So if somebody wants a taller design, I'll be like, right, well, I recommend you use this vase.
Amazing.
Or if they want something shorter, because they're really hard to cut as well, the faux flowers. So I think that's the problem. A lot of people will buy them, not cut them, take them home, just put them in a vase, or maybe bend the stems a bit. And then you've got loads of bent stems in the bottom of the vase. And they just don't look right because they're not the right heights. And they all need bending and playing with to look
You have a lot of patience, it sounds to me.
Yeah, I just...
Are you a very patient person?
Sometimes.
It's like, you've got a lot of energy, and I'm like, yeah, I'm impressed, because you must need a lot of patience. But also, it sounds like you're educated. Like, you obviously know your flowers, you know the seasons, I mean, that must just be because you love it as well.
Yeah, and it just comes with, I mean, as I say, I did do quite an intense college course for 2 years, which I think gave me a lot of grounding, and also that taught me a lot of the mechanics behind everything. Yeah. So if you know that, and then you have an eye for it, or you need, because you can know all that, and you can make your flowers to the recipe, but they won't look, they'll still look sometimes like flowers just put in a vase if you've not got that extra part of you that can see, oh, but if I just pull that out a bit and then push that one in deeper and this, that and the other, and get different levels, and then suddenly you've got a bouquet that looks real instead of faux.
And so when you talk about Instagram, and I imagine Pinterest, and I mean, what are the sort of staple social platforms for your industry that people sort of research and look up what people are doing?
I mean, at the moment, I mainly rely on my Instagram and go into Facebook. Yeah. I do have Pinterest, but that's more reliant. I can tell when people have pinned my things, which they do. But it's harder, I always think, to break into Pinterest as a business, because also people want you to be pinning other things, not just your own things, and that just takes so much time.
So
Pinterest I have, but I don't use it that much.
And have you found in the last year, I mean, it's been a tough year, like you say, you've got 3 children, so you've been enjoying the homeschool experience. We've had a discussion. Luckily we had this discussion 2 weeks ago. We won't take up too much airtime talking about homeschooling. But I mean, what is, having a shop as well, that must have been a bit of a knock. You've got your shop, you've got it up and running, everyone knows where you are, everyone knows who you are, you've established yourself, and then that happens. What have you done to keep yourself going? What's been your driving force, and what's kept you staying positive? Because you are a very positive person.
Most of the time, but it's just still, I don't know, it's because I want it so badly, and I don't want to lose it. So determination, that's the thing. If I didn't want it so badly, it would have gone by now. But it's because I can still see that future that I want, and that's where it comes from, I think.
That's the driving force.
And then the kids they'll come around with me. So I mean, it is, most days we end up in the shop for a period of time, and they just and
that's luckily
I have a big TV, so but that's kind of like, luckily there's a huge TV in there, so they'll just sit and watch YouTube or something. Or sometimes they'll feel like playing, they like having the scrappy old flowers sometimes to fiddle with, and they all quite like floral foam.
Do they?
So although I try not to use it, I do have some boxes of sort of biodegradable stuff in the shop, and it's really fun to chop up. So it's really fun if you make it wet and then cut it up. it's sort of like, you know,
satisfying.
it's satisfying when you see those videos
with
on
the
YouTube.
soap.
Yeah, the soap,
Well,
like,
they're
cutting
through
the soap. Yeah,
the butter and the soap and all weird things like that. I've seen
yeah.
a few
So
of
if it
those.
comes to worse, I just give them a floral knife.
I think you've thought of another workshop there, haven't
Yeah,
you, for kids?
exactly.
I mean, just get a load of that out.
Yeah,
and
I'm not
just...
sure. I could be giving other people's children sharp knives. But, you know.
Maybe not, actually. I don't know if health and safety would be a good idea on that. What's your favourite season?
My favourite season is spring.
Is it?
Yeah, I
so
love
we're coming
spring.
into it. That was I was just
Exactly.
plucked that one out of there. I didn't even know that. But it is.
It
What
is.
what is it you love about spring?
I just love all the promise, really, and I love how everything starts to turn a little bit green, and all the bulb flowers,
Yeah.
and just I'm not so keen on. I like daffodils as a cut flower if they're different, so if they're either tiny or double. But I think the ones that are just simple should just be left.
Yeah.
I love it when you see, you know, when you drive out through Rust Hall and there's the great swathes where they've all been planted and then the bulbs split, and you just think, oh, it's just so, I don't know, it's just so lovely. Because sometimes by the time it gets to June, July, if we've had a bit of a hot May, here you think, oh, all the gardens will be beautiful, but they're not. They're not, and all the trees are just that perfect little green. Yeah, spring.
And favourite flower? If you could name one, I know that's going to be tough for you.
Yeah, it's a bit like, it's just the classic, like peonies.
Is it?
I love peonies when they're enormous and just fragrant. And then there's one that I get called a sunset peony.
Yeah.
And actually, it's quite a delicate one because it doesn't have the full on double petals.
Yeah.
It just has almost 1 or 2 circles of petals, but it fades. So it starts off almost the colour of my shop. So kind of that real coral pink.
Yeah.
And then it fades down over a couple of weeks till it's just yellow.
Oh, amazing.
So it's beautiful. It's like a sunset over, and sunsets are my favourite thing. So it's like just...
Absolutely. I mean,
it's
I'm
just
all for a sunset. We haven't
Yeah.
had much of one today, but not, you know, we're promised some good weather again this week. We've had a glimpse at the
Fingers crossed.
weekend, a little glimpse. You were at one stage as well. I remember you had a beautiful painting in or picture that someone had an artist had put in, and that you were, because I think I was like, oh
yeah,
how much is that? That's amazing. Yeah. Is that something that you might be sort of collaborating with more people and sort of showing pieces in your shop? Or?
I did sort of try, but it's difficult because then it becomes, I mean, at the moment I'm slightly back to just concentrating on
doing
my
what
own
you do.
stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think once it's built up a bit again and people are back in the shop, but it's difficult because it makes people too confused. So a lot of my customers that come into my shop aren't necessarily the customers that follow me on Instagram and things, because there's some very there's quite a few older residents around my area, so they come in and some, you know, they like their little house plants or just a small bouquet and a chat and things, but they were getting confused, I realized, because they were like, well, what are you, an art gallery, what are you? There was too much. So I think other people might understand, but I'm trying to make sure that people that generally are my general shop customers, it's just a bit simpler. And also, you know, I'm running out of space.
Have you got any, I mean, is that something, an option in the future to maybe have more shops? Would you like that? Or is it something you like having your bolt hole and you know, you want to expand in other ways out of that?
No, that was my plan, was that there would be a number of Bloom Foundry shops.
Amazing.
So hopefully that will...
And what about the name Bloom Foundry? Where did that, I mean, clearly I understand some of the name, but did that take you a long time, or was that always something you had in your mind, a bit like the shop, you visualised it?
Well, I sort of sat for an evening and went through lots of different things, and I started thinking, well, what am I doing? Because I want the flowers and antiques, but how do I maybe bring them together? And then I started thinking about how you melt down different metals to make something like another, I can't, you know, off the top of my head I can't think, but that was where my mind was going. So then I was thinking, well, it's like a melting pot or like a smelters, or you know, and then I was sort of thinking about the people that used to try and make gold I can't think of the word for them either off the top of my head, but you know,
bit like alchemy, isn't it?
Yes, that's what I was thinking. And then so that's where I was thinking with the smelting pot, and then I was thinking, well, where do you do that? In a foundry. And then to begin with I thought the Flower Foundry, but that name's actually in use in another country, so I didn't want to get confused. And then we used to live in Holland when I was a little girl.
Oh wow.
And flowers in Holland are called blooms, so there we go. The Bloom
So that
Foundry.
must be an influence, Holland.
That's where my brain. Well, yeah, that's the other reason I love flowers, because we lived in Holland when I was a little girl and used to go to Kokenhof, and it was just the fields of tulips are just something else. Like I can't wait till I can take the boys there and just to see that, because it's incredible. It's just a carpet of colour, and then you go to Kokenhof, like the big, which is almost like Wakefield Place or something, like their flower central, and it's just beautiful. And I mean, I was like 7, 8 years old, and I still was quite happy and loved it. And just, you know, whenever we had visitors, that was what, there was certain places that they got taken, you know, because obviously we'd moved there, and then everyone was like, oh, we can go to Holland and visit the Merkls. So we went over there, and so every time, if anybody visited in springtime, we went to Kokenhof and then a few other places. But yeah, I used to love that place. It was just so beautiful.
And you say about sort of your have your children got a passion for what you do, or that you seen any glimpses of that sort of, you know, picking up from you?
The smallest one, definitely. Jamie loves if I give him flowers to play with, and he understands. He has watched me do it for the last few years, but it's not like I've done it since they were babies, really, not around them. But if I give him flowers without me even saying, like I gave him some flowers back in the summer, and he was like, right, okay, well, I make sure you give me some main ones. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, you know, the good ones, mummy, like a rose or something, not just all the fluffy bits. And I was like, okay, because I do palm him off with a bit of gypsophilia and things, just like, there you go, have some greenery and some gypsophilia. And he was like, no, I want main flowers, good flowers. And then he said, right, now I'm meant to make it look like they're steps. And him
that's
making
amazing.
it look like they're steps without me, I've never said that to him, but that's a fundamental baseline of floristry, is that if you are almost, I mean, he was obviously sort of doing a semi-traditional, almost 80s arrangement, bless him, but he had all these roses in perfect little steps going down.
Brilliant.
And then he said, right, now I need to fill in the gaps, I need to put all their servants in. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, that's the king and queen, and that's
that's
so
brilliant
cute.
though.
But he produces really pretty things.
Yeah.
Like he loves doing it, and then he gives them to my mum. So
this could be a family business.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the eldest one, he's more computer minded. I'm not really sure. The middle one could go either way. I don't know.
What would be your what for people out there that are thinking about setting up a business, not necessarily, you know, in the same industry as you, but any sort of business, because, you know, you really wanted something and you went out there and got it, and it has been a really tough time. You're very new into your business, but you've had some really good successes. What would you say is the thing that's advice that you could give to other people out there about how to carry on?
Well, I think if it's something that needs knowledge, make sure you really have that knowledge.
That's
because then you'll be able to continue doing it. It's no good, because I get so many people sort of say, oh, it must be so lovely doing what you do, playing with flowers all day. And it's like, no, that's not what you're doing. I mean, I already had quite good business sense before I would even have considered opening the florist. I already had like business knowledge, and you need all the knowledge, which is hard doing something creative. And so if you don't have the knowledge, you need to make sure you've got people helping you that do.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice, actually. That's good advice. And so I love your shop. I love everything. If people want to find out more about you, is it best that they go to the website, or do they find you on Instagram? Where's the best place for them to go?
I'd say either at the moment. I'd say the Instagram's quite good for seeing, because at the moment I'm busy updating so many things. So I tend to put them on Instagram first. And then if they don't sell on Instagram, which often happens, before I can get it onto the website, especially the dried flowers. I mean, everybody just loves them at the moment. So, and then things go onto the website, which is still, at the moment, there's not lots of padding on it just yet, because I'm concentrating on with the person that's helping me do it all. She's amazing. And we're concentrating on getting the products on there, because obviously that's what will hopefully save the business. Well, not that much, but, you know, keep the business going rather than me writing great pages about.
It's visual, isn't it?
Beautiful?
People want to see. It's a very visual product, and if people can't touch it, they can see it and they can feel it.
Exactly.
Are you going to be doing any exciting things for Easter then? So you mentioned, I mean, obviously, Mad Hatter. I'm all about a bit of Hatter and a bit of madness. But I mean, how about anything special for Easter? Are you doing any sort of special floral things that we might?
Well, I've started already. I've done some Easter wreaths. So
Have
those
you?
kits will be going on
I
the
love
website.
that.
And then also, if obviously if you
Brilliant.
want them made, then
Wow.
I can make them for you. So I've got a faux flower one that's all really beautiful daffodils, and you can get extra Easter decorations to put on it. So it
Like
kind of
little
be
eggs.
Eggs.
Real eggs.
Well, no, they look real though. Bunny rabbits.
I suppose chocolate eggs,
Chickens.
if it's sunny,
Yeah, it's not going to
might melt.
It's a bit like,
won't look great on the flower wreath. But all
so
of
that's
those,
something to do.
I love
And then also, like, I've made up some really beautiful dried ones that are more for indoors really than your front door, and then would be suitable year round. So that's where I'm kind of at with Easter at the moment, because it's difficult to know until Boris makes his announcement later.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't think the shop will be open by Easter. I think that's...
But it sounds like you're going to be very busy.
Yes.
And when we do come out of lockdown, which we will, what is going to be one of the first things you're going to be doing?
Dancing, maybe.
Dancing.
Like, finally.
Absolutely.
Out
Dancing. There. Wouldn't that be a nice thing to be able to do?
Really nice.
Just
really
to go
nice.
out and dance.
Exactly. No, the door will be open. I'll be like, right, can you please come in?
Yeah.
Please come into the shop.
Absolutely.
Here's all the things you've been gazing at, because I can always tell when someone's been looking through the window, because I come to the shop door where it's a glass door, and there'll be like a little face.
Oh, that's lovely.
There's often face prints on the door.
That's kind of
I'm
lovely,
like,
and kind of be a bit careful on that
yeah,
one.
exactly. I always have hand wipes with me. But yeah, so it's kind of, there's always, I can tell people are very keen, and so many people, because I am in there quite a lot.
Yeah.
I'm in there like
They can come in and
sort
talk
of
to
Wednesday,
you.
Thursday, Friday.
Great.
But I can hear people talking. So when I'm in the shop, they don't necessarily know that I'm in there.
They do now.
They do now, yeah. But I can hear them talking, and luckily it's always nice things that I hear. So
If it's not, make sure it is now, because she can hear you.
So I think it's a lot, in a way, lockdown, where a lot more people are staying more local and are going out on all their walks, poor things. I've been more noticed.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people, and I think people will continue to walk more than they did before. So whereas people might have, say, lived around the corner from me, got in their car and driven to town, now they're probably more likely to walk.
Yeah.
So there's definitely, I can tell, a lot more footfall around than there would have been before.
And I think one of the loveliest things about what you do, because actually when you came, I was really, really touched when you popped round a couple of weeks ago, because it was actually a client who'd organised some flowers for me and the team just to say thank you for what we've done. And it was so lovely to see your face when you bought them as well. And we had a really nice chat. But it is that thing, isn't it? It's about kindness. You can actually and it meant so much to me that day. I then actually posted about that because it was such a nice thing to receive. And it was just such a thoughtful thing. And it's so simple, and it's also so beautiful. I mean, it just feeds into so many good areas.
Well, exactly. And I
with
think
ease.
people forget. Like,
They
people
do.
sort of forget about that you can still send flowers.
Yeah,
or,
not just for Valentine's and Christmas and birthdays and all the rest of it. All the time.
Exactly.
It's all year round.
Or they sort of go to the letterbox flowers, which I've sort of avoided, because I've had quite a few people say to me, well, can't you just send us the bouquet? And I'm like, well, not really, no, because I don't want to put my flowers in the post unless I have to. And I don't trust they'll turn up to you looking like they left me.
Yeah.
And, you know, also, where's the personality in that? Call a florist near you and get them to send you flowers, but then they're like, well, they won't look like your flowers. And I said, but my flowers through the post won't look through like my flowers. You know, the only things I'll post are the sort of, you know, unbreakable ones.
Yeah. But that's
I think it's kind of, so people are just so quick now. If they think, oh, I'll send a bunch of flowers to my friend in Tunbridge Wells, they just go on to wherever and send a box through the post, whereas they could go onto a website or just go onto Google.
They could get you delivering them.
Exactly, and go Tunbridge Wells florist, and it's like, oh, I'll get the Bloom Foundry to send them, which I do get quite a lot. But as I say, there's still so many times when you see people saying, oh, and it's lovely their friends thought and sent them some flowers. That's still really lovely, but it misses that personal extra little touch, and they're not arranged. And
I think it's been such an interesting thing, the lockdown, because even though we've had the lockdown and we've been shut away from each other, we've communicated more through technology and through other ways. And then you've got things like that as well, because actually businesses, what I like about doing this is for other people, you know, I get to have chats with lots of businesses anyway, because that's what I do with my PR company. But actually doing this is letting other people get to know a bit more about you. And it's really nice when you do the deliveries, and certain restaurants have been dropping off food and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, I saw someone from Thackeray's the other day dropping off in the area some food. It was like, hello. And it's that really nice community feel that we've got back, which I love, actually. So I think that's great. And I now expect all my flowers to be hand delivered, please, Lucy, from you.
That's fine.
Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us today.
Oh, thank you for having
me. And
me.
if people need to find out more about you, like you said, they can find you on Instagram, they can find you through your website, the Bloom Foundry, or they can come in the shop, or they could stand outside the shop and have a little chat, and you can hear them anyway.
I know.
But thank you ever so much, and we can't wait to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.